Hey, my name's Brenda if we haven't met before, and today I'm going to do the double garter pattern that a lot of people have asked me for. And this is the blanket behind me in the green forest from Joann's in extra, it's the Burnett blanket extra thick jumbo 7 chunky chenille. And so let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so today I'm going to be using the Yarn Bee Eternal Bliss in taupe color, and I'm just going to show you an example of the pattern, a few rows, the cast on, few rows of the pattern and the cast off, and I'm also going to show you the burn method during this video, since I know there's a lot of beginners. And this pattern is super easy. It is great for beginners. So let's go ahead. And that's why I have my scissors and my lighter. I will link those in the description below. This is an Honest refillable, and you can get it on Amazon. So unravel my yarn. All right. So we are going to be doing a 4-row pattern repeat. And again, just like always, I leave a little bit of a tail, create the loop, and pull your working yarn through the back of that loop and cinch it tight with the tail. And this is how you create a slip knot. You want your cast on, as always, to be 3 finger widths. So try to keep them about the same size. I go ahead, and what I've learned to do over the years is hold, with my left hand, I hold the chain, my last few fingers, and the first index finger and thumb, I pull through. And I keep it on the table so that it is more consistent. And you can see the size of your loops. And I'm going to do a cast on chain of 21. Since I have enough of this yarn to do a baby blanket, which is about close to 4 of the Hobby Lobby skeins. If you're doing, if you'd like to do a medium size throw, the 40 by 60, that takes me about 7 of these skeins. And every other week they are 30% off, which is nice. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Too many. Okay, gonna flip the chain over and go through the middle of the back, right here. If it's easier, you can go through the legs of the top. Either way, it will turn out to be about the same. So you go under that middle part of the chain and pull it through. Under, pull it through towards you. And that's the easiest way to do the cast on. Pulling your loops through the chain. Okay, I will count once again. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. And I have 22. Okay. And like I said, I leave the tail so you can tie a knot in that and trim it off. I will then tuck that into my chain underneath. Look at that. Okay, so we are going to do a row of knit. All the way across. Make sure that you're keeping your stitches close together, and when you're pulling the working yarn through, you want to grab it as close to as you can to the other back of that other stitch, and that way you're keeping them tightly knit. That helps to create big holes or gaps in your blanket. And then, you know, for the body of the blanket, I keep these stitches 2 finger widths. All right, we're almost to the end of this row. And now make sure that you're not getting that twisted. You knit the border. I'm always gonna knit the border on this pattern because I wanna have it looking like the top and bottom. So, and I do that whenever I do a purl stitch. So the purl stitch, you bring it around through the front and push it through to the back. So it's the opposite of the knit stitch. And we're gonna do 2 rows of this purl stitch. Now, if it's easier for you to turn your blanket over each time you do the purl, you can just turn it over and knit it. The problem that beginners sometimes find with that is that they miss a stitch. So I prefer to not turn it over, but it's just a personal preference. And done with our first row, so then we are at the border and I'm gonna knit that. See how that is gonna be turning out more like the bottom. So now I'm gonna go ahead and drop that stitch and do the second row of the purl stitch. The fun thing about this pattern is that when it's completed, it kind of looks like a whole different style of pattern because when you have 2 purl rows together, it almost looks like a knit stitch vertically. So I'll do a few more of these rows and then I'll show you the burn technique and the cast off. I want to make sure that you can see how this is going to be. Okay, so next to the last stitch, we purled And then we're gonna knit our border. And then we'll drop that one coming back this way. And now we're gonna go back to knitting. Again, make sure your working yarn is tight so you don't want to have slack in between and then go, oh, you know, you'll have this big gap back there. Close as you can to the stitch next to it. And I find if you're starting a new pattern, it's always easiest to start with a baby size blanket, just until you get the pattern down. And then you can do a larger size. That's just worked best for me. This is not a complicated pattern, so. All right, now we're back to the edge and we're gonna knit. Okay, and we'll drop that and knit one more row across. And if you're more experienced, you obviously do not have to watch the rest of this tutorial. That I'm doing for beginners for the burning of the skeins together and the cast off. All right, so knit the border, and then we are going to go back to 2 purl rows. So you leave that border stitch and then go back to purling. Try and keep the purl stitches a tiny bit smaller. They do tend to stretch, and this yarn is very stretchy. So I hope you enjoy my tutorials, and if you do, please like and subscribe. I love any comments or feedback for ideas. All right, back to the last edge stitch, and we're gonna knit that. And then we're moving back to our last purl row. Again, pushing that yarn through the front. So we've almost gone through one skein. A couple other chunky jumbo chenilles that I have purchased at Michael's. There is the Burnett Blanket Big, and the skeins are a little bit bigger than Hobby Lobby. A lot more color selection, and sometimes they have sales as well, but they are more expensive. And the same with Joanne. Joanne has one they carry, and it's a huge skein. So knit the border, and then we're gonna go back to 2 new knit rows. Theirs is called Burnett Blanket Extra Thick, and it's over 2 times the size of Michael's skein. So it is quite a bit more expensive, but again, you can find coupon codes for Joanne. If you search that in Google, sometimes you can get 25–30% off, and that's really nice. All right, so the pattern, like you can see, is a 2 knit 2 purl pattern. I'm almost to the end, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you the burning method here. So what I do, I want to find the other end. You have 2 ends. You're going to want to trim. Make sure that it's trimmed nice and good. There you will find a little cord in the middle, and you can feel it. It's a little plastic cord, and I don't know if you can see that right there. So I'm going to take my little lighter torch, and I want to just hit the edge of that cord to burn it. Push the other end against it, and then you want to roll it in your fingers so that you don't have a big plastic pointy edge. And you will see that, well, that one didn't stay together. And that happens sometimes. If you have a yarn that has a little bit of a bad connection. So let's do this again. Roll it. I'm glad you saw that, because that sometimes does happen, and you want to make sure that your yarn is strong and the connection is good so that your blanket will not come apart. See? Okay, so now I'm gonna knit one more row, and then I will show you the cast off. Again, keep your stitches close together and the loop's not too big. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I just repeat this pattern until the desired length you're looking for. And here we are at the end. So I will cast off here, which usually takes just over 3 blanket widths, like we've talked about before in other videos. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so take your last stitch where the working yarn is connected, and you take the second stitch next to it and have them both on your finger. You want to put your thumb through, pull the working yarn through those 2 stitches, and then you'll do the same. You'll be down to 1 stitch. You grab the next stitch and pinch your working yarn through. And again, do the cast off just like the cast on, 3 finger widths. And you will see this is a very nice way to cast off. There is another way, but I I prefer this way. And I will show you a little bit closer the finished blanket. All right, we're going down to the end here on your last stitch, and you put that together, bring the working yarn through the back, and you have one loop. So you trim that off. Put it through, and then do another knot, or just tuck it into your chain. And I use a needle and thread to sew that together, just to do make it look more like a nice finished project that doesn't come apart. So that is the double garter pattern, and here is the blanket that everyone loved. So happy knitting!